Alright guys, welcome to another video on Jujutsu Kaisen Phantom Thread. And this video will be on the new Imaginary Realm battle versus Jogo Extreme 2. And I will be showing you guys a guide on how to 3-star clear it. Now, this stage is definitely hard. I feel like it's harder than other imaginary battles, purely because the enemy just do way too much damage. And basically one way of how to counter against that is that if you do actually have the SSR Recollection, Mutual Trust, or a Wish from the Past, so you either have damage reduction or the healing one, the AoE healing, then definitely equip them because they are going to be kind of essential for you to actually survive that low. However, if you don't have them, don't worry, I am going to show you a guide on how to beat it without any of those SSR recollections. And this is going to be the free-to-play team that I am going to show you, which as you can see is going to be 2 R character, 1 SR, and then Nobara, who hopefully everyone have by now. Any yellow DPS, to be honest, can probably work as long as you can actually kill off the second wave of the boss in 10 turns. That's kind of the basic requirement. And then in terms of recollection, like I said, they're all the free-to-play options. You have 1 SR recollection, you have the 2 from Formidable Battle, and then you have this one who everyone can get from the 7-day login event. So everyone should have access to all of this. Skill level requirement wise, nothing is too high either. I do have Nobara both at dupe 1 and also her ultimate attack at level 9. I'm not sure whether you're able to do it any quicker. I guess probably not unless you want to keep on retrying for crit. But I don't normally recommend that because this battle is a stall battle, so it's gonna take a while. You don't really want to keep on repeating like a 30-turn strategy, trying to go for crit. So I would probably suggest only try this if your Nobara is dupe 1 or your ultimate attack is at level 9. And then for all of the other skills, as you can see, just maxed out at level 8, so nothing crazy there either. Okay, so like I said, this is because it's a stall strategy, so while it's going to be enough for you to 3-star career, unfortunately it's not going to be enough for you to actually complete all of the missions, because one of them is that you actually need to beat it within 16 turns and 22 turns, so you won't be able to get all of those missions using my strategy. But that's kind of just reality. Like if you only have 1 yellow DPS and it happens to be Nobara, there's not much thing you can do there because you kind of need to either survive long enough for Nobara to do enough damage, or you kind of just need to burst through it, and Nobara at dupe 1 is just not going to be enough to do it by herself. So that's just kind of reality. If you do happen to have incomplete domain Megumi or obviously Team Gojo, then play them instead and you can actually beat them much faster. So that's basically going to be, my suggestion depending on what kind of character you actually have in your box. And also, of course, if you actually have the SSR recollection for damage reduction or healing, put them on your team. It'll make your life easier. I'm only doing this strategy to show that all free-to-play players can still beat it without using those recollections or too much investment on their characters. But obviously, if you have better options, then do use them, all right? Okay, so how does this strategy work? So basically, you can already kind of tell Shoko is basically there to heal up your whole team to make sure they all stay alive, and that's kind of essential because you don't have that healing recollection. And then obviously Toga is here to provide damage reduction instead of the SSR Recollection Mutual Trust, and then Kaito is there to provide enough curse energy so Shoko and Toge can do their stuff. Nobara is there obviously for the damage, so that's basically how it works. Now, in order for you to actually survive long enough, there's one very important thing you have to bear in mind, is that the enemy will be doing a domain expansion that lasts for 10 turns, which is going to do a lot of damage, and because you are not able to nuke it, to be honest, like even if you have Team Gojo or Incomplete Domain Megumi, it's still quite difficult to actually nuke the enemy before his domain expansion is out. So you probably just have to tank it. And if you actually have to tank the domain expansion, it's much easier for you to actually tank it in phase 1 rather than phase 2. Because in phase 2, he is going to attack one more turn. So that is basically the reason why you will see in my video, I actually allow the enemy to release his domain expansion in his first phase. And I wait all the way till like almost the last turn of when his domain expansion is about to expire before killing him off. And that basically means is that Jogo is gonna enter the second phase with his domain expansion already out. And because his domain expansion is already out, he is not gonna immediately release his domain expansion again. And because I kind of managed to time it exactly so that Jogo only have like 1 turn of domain expansion when he's out, it's gonna expire straight away. And then what that means is that when it actually expires, he's gonna get 3 turns where he can't increase his ultimate energy, and that basically gives you the 3 turns here plus another 7 turns where he actually need to build up his ultimate energy from 0 to to full, and that basically gives you like 11 turns in total, where you can then actually wipe out Jogo before he releases his domain expansion again. And that's basically going to be the main strategy. So basically, you'll see in my video gameplay later on as well, you just basically have to try to chip down the enemy as slowly as possible so that you kill off the enemy on exactly 1016 or 1017. Now, depending on what HP you have left, you may have to do it on 1016 purely because if you actually do it on 1016, then you will actually be able to survive. However, the enemy will have one more turn in his domain expansion in the second phase, and then what you then have to do is actually do a bit of RNG and try to stun the enemy with Toge's skill 3. So that's something I think I've done in my gameplay, and something you may need to do as well depending on the HP of your characters on 1016. The other thing you also want to bear in mind is that you always, like, I'm going to give you guys 1016 and 1017 as a reference, but you should always actually count 9 turns from when the enemy released their domain expansion, because they may not always release it on turn 8. Now, he released it on turn 8 purely because I'm actually able to control the enemy HP to above 70% at the start. If you are actually gonna kill off the do too much damage to this enemy, what's actually going to happen is Jogo is actually going to consume one of his ultimate count in order to do a bit of HP recovery. And that basically could mean that he only releases domain expansion on 10-9 or 10-10. And in which case 10-16 and 10-17 is no longer going to be the right timing for you to kill them off. Now you have to move them back another 1 turn or 2 turn. So, use 16 and 17 as a reference point on when you need to kill it. But ideally, you should actually just be doing, plus 9 turns from whenever he actually used his domain expansion. So that should be the right way of timing when you need to transition into the second phase. So that is basically the main idea behind the strategy. Now, to actually execute it, I'm going to give you a few tips to make your run a lot easier. The first thing is, first of all, start off with Nobara killing off the 2 flies on the side. You always want to leave 1 fly alive on the field the whole time, and that is because if you actually kill off all 3 flies, Jogo is just going to summon them back again, and you want to avoid that. So use Nobara to kill off 2 of the flies, and that's about it. Now for Nobara, what you want to do is vast majority of the time you actually just want to use skill 2, and the reason is you will be using Pride, or at least that's the free-to-play reflection I have on her, and because Pride its effect get activated whenever you use a curse technique, and Nobara skill 1 skill 3 is curse technique. You don't actually want to waste it on those attacks. You want to actually save it for your ult, and that's kind of why you'll see me predominantly using skill 2 throughout the whole battle and then just ult. So that's basically the way you play with Nobara. For Shoko, obviously heal whoever is on the lowest HP. And one thing you also normally want to do is actually you want to try to combo with Kaito if possible for the combo attack. Now, if you can't do it because your HP is too low and to use her ultimate straight away, then that's absolutely fine. But the idea of why you actually want to combo with Kaito is that when you do a combo attack with whoever, you're actually going to recover curse energy to the other member of the combo attack, and that basically gives Kaito more curse energy so that he can actually enable your other members to have more curse energy. So that's kind of what ideally you want to combo them together. And the other nice thing about comboing them together is that you can also place Kaito in front of Toge, and what that is going to do is that when Kaito uses his combo attack, which is a buff, it's always going to trigger the next person in the combo attack to use her ultimate. So in this case, Shoko. And that basically means Shoko meant to use her ultimate attack before Toge use whatever attack he does, and what you're going to do is use Toge's skill 2, and which is actually going to increase her ultimate energy again. So this way it kind of allow your Shoko to charge up her ultimate energy on the same time she actually use her ult, which is quite nice. So that's kind of why you always try to combo up with Kaito if possible. Now the trick with Toge here is that for the first I think for the first 5 turns, you don't actually need to worry about damage reduction too much because the enemy hasn't been doing too much damage. Actually, no, for the first 6 turns, I believe. And basically what that means is you can actually take a break from the damage reduction in order to preserve your curse energy for later on when enemy have domain expansion out. When enemy have domain expansion out, you pretty much have to do damage reduction every single turn in order to actually survive. So that's kind of why you want to conserve as much curse energy as possible early on. So for the first 6 turns, you do 1 damage reduction, then take a break, 1 damage reduction, take a break, etc. And then once the enemy is one turn away from using his domain expansion, you want to then go into consecutive damage reduction with Toge's skill 2. And that basically allow your team to always have damage reduction on everyone in order to actually make sure you survive. Now, eventually, the next time your Toge would then take a break is that when you actually end up breaking the enemy, because when the enemy is actually broken, that basically essentially gives you 2 free turns in order to take a break, because the enemy won't be doing much attack to you, and therefore that allows you time to build up your curse energy again. So basically that's the way of how you actually want to play Toge. You basically use damage reduction constantly when there's domain expansion, and you only rest him either at the start of battle when there's no domain expansion, or when the enemy is already in a broken state and therefore won't be attacking much.